Cold weather is just around the corner, and so is the dreaded snowflake icon. We're gonna walk through a winter checklist so you and your Tesla can be prepared for the season. So the number one thing that you want to make sure in snowy condition is going to be your tire. And we're speaking from experience. I've actually totaled our Model Y one time, and that was due to probably a tire tread issue. So if you're in somewhere like our place, like Tennessee, that's not necessarily super snowy, typically you don't necessarily need winter tires. If you have like all season tires, just make sure you have enough tread, right? Because if it doesn't have tread, it could be an issue. So to do that, you could actually do the penny test, and that's like the most scientific way where you could actually check your tread depth. Or, just take a look. I mean, feel the grooves. And if it's like bald, that's not good, right? So you should definitely have a decent amount of groove and track in order to make sure that your tires are good. If you are in an area that is super, let's say up in north, you definitely want some winter tires. On the Tesla website, you could also buy the winter tires with the chains as well. So the other thing about the tires is going to be monitoring your tire pressure. Going from hot to cold, the tire pressure may fluctuate a little bit. So it might go down a little bit. Just make sure you get it back up, right? So one thing we recommend is having air pressure, like a portable tire pump. You could have that in your car so that you could, pump it up if it's down a little bit. So just don't forget to check your tire tread, and then also your TPMS and your tire pressure so that it's maintained. The next thing that I would highly recommend is making sure your wiper blades are good. It's these right here. If you see, this is not in the setup mode, but you can buy these at Tesla.com. You don't necessarily need to get the OEM ones. I typically change it probably like at least once a year, right? So I think the main thing is if it stutters, like if you don't want to change it, you could actually wipe it down. Like you can get one of our glass cleaner with a microfiber and clean that area first. But if it still stutters, then it's probably the life of it is gone. So you want to make sure you replace that. Super easy. You just clip this right here and then remove it, and then it'll go back in. Okay, so very, very simple. The other thing is going to be your windshield wiper fluid. A lot of times you're gonna get an all-season one, or even you can get a winter one, right? The winter one actually includes an agent that actually defrosts the ice, and that's really important because when you spray the windshield wiper fluid, it'll expedite melting the ice in the windshield, especially when you have like freezing rain and stuff like that. The older Model 3 and Y actually had the wiper fluid up here. The newer ones on the 24 have it right in the front. So just pop that. Make sure you put some in there and you should be good to go for the winter. So a pro tip, if you live in the north with a lot of snow, one thing that we highly recommend is you go to the controls, service, and you go wiper service mode. And when you do that, it actually lifts this up, and then that will make sure that it raises against the windshield so that they can defrost when the windshield defrosts. So it kind of makes it a lot easier. So if you know it's gonna snow a lot, just make sure you put it on wiper service mode and you should be good to go. I've had my first Tesla in 2018, and that one doesn't have nearly as many features as this one in the 2024. But one thing that you want to do is the handle hasn't really changed much. Areas like the handle and like the door seals, you actually want to use like a WD-40 lubricant, like a silicone lubricant, that will actually help so that it doesn't, freeze up or anything like that. So typically we do that like right before winter, like October, November is a good time for us to do it. Some areas already got snow, so you might want to do it in August and September, something like that, depending on where you are. If you live in a very, very cold place, I would highly recommend, having a de-icer with you so that you have a spray and you could free frozen handles. And a lot of the de-icer, just so you know, it usually contains some sort of alcohol agent, and that's what actually melts the handles a lot quicker, okay? Definitely use the defrost feature. One of their best features, my favorite features on a Tesla. You could also schedule this, by the way, on your app, on the Tesla app, and you could schedule when you want to leave for work or wherever you're going in the morning, and it'll start defrosting it 10-15 minutes before you even leave, so that when you get down here, one, you're in a very warm car, but two, everything is defrosted and you don't have to wait that additional 5 minutes for the windshield to defrost. If you're in the, again, super wintry areas, cold areas, definitely turn off auto fold mirrors. I believe there is a heating element in the mirrors. However, like, you don't want to risk, right? If you know that it's going to snow a lot, you definitely want to turn off the auto fold, and that'll make sure that the motors are not overworking, frozen, and it's going to cause any issues. If you did all the silicone lubricant and all that stuff, and if the door froze up a little bit, you kind of just hit it around the door handle, and then that will kind of loosen up the ice, and then you should be able to open it from there on out. At my home, we actually have the charger outdoors, right? So you want to make sure that you either cover it up, right, if you know it's going to snow a massive amount, or you could actually get a lockbox for it too, so you can keep it away from snow. But if it has some snow, just get a cloth and then just wipe it down before you get started on it. The other thing that you absolutely want to do is make sure you have a mobile charger in your car, especially when you're traveling during the winter time. You just don't know whenever something's going to happen and you need that in a pinch. Other things that you definitely want, I like keeping these during the winter just in my frunk or even in the trunk, is this is, if you're a parent, just having snacks, like emergency snacks. You know, your kids can get cranky. It's going to be a very, very big deal. Very important. But definitely having like a very simple like ice scraper. You can really get it anywhere. Having a jacket, right? Or jacket, hoodie, whatever you want to call it. And also a blanket is going to be important. I just kind of keep it there for emergency purposes. And then also a first aid kit, which is also going to be important. Before we go inside, make sure you click on that subscribe button. We love making these videos for you, so click on that red button right there. Tesla has done a good job of having the heat pump for the newer vehicles, so that's been definitely a lot less of an issue than the previous cars. But that also means there's a couple things and tips and tricks that you can do to actually optimize your range. So one of the first things that I would highly recommend that you do is actually putting into chill mode. And I know it's gonna be hard for some of you all, but you can go to dynamics, and instead of standard, you put it on chill. What that means is your acceleration is not gonna be as, fast, but that ensures that you're not gonna be using as much energy, right, when you're actually booking it, right? The other thing is going to be preconditioning your Tesla. We kind of talked a little bit about it earlier, but that's gonna be, you can also schedule that precondition. And that makes sure that it activates the defrost setting, it melts, the snow, ice in your car. But not only does it do that, but it also heats the battery and the cabin. So that's really important, so you're not like just driving. Kind of like during winter in an ICE vehicle, you typically like turn on your car, light a defrost, wait a little bit, let the engine run a little bit, get hot, and then you go, right? You don't really want to just traumatize it and just go immediately. It's sort of similar like that, except it's not an engine. A lot of times, like Sentry mode and some features, it will not work once it gets down to a certain battery state. So like right now I only have 49 miles, which means it's about 19%. It might not be able to do that. So just keep that in mind. You want to be in the green, not be so low. Since we're already on this, you definitely also want to use some scheduled charging. This is more, not necessarily a winter tip only, but some states also have like where at certain times of the night, the electricity is actually cheaper, right? So you can actually schedule that so your cost is even lower. While you're actually doing the precondition, you could also set up the charge so that you can have it charged and also precondition at the same time. So kind of going back to the Sentry mode and some of the features, it does use up a lot more of your energy when you have that on. So you definitely, if you don't need it to turn on Sentry mode, you can just turn that off, and that would preserve your battery optimization as well. The climate and HVAC settings, it does pull from the battery pack. So to optimize cabin heating, you could actually set the temperature lower, and then also using the heated seats. So these actually have cool seats, but you could heat it and then use a little bacon. So 3 bacon, 2 bacon, whatever it is. And also turn your vents toward the window to help defrost. If it's really, really bad and those windows are really bad, you could actually also use this and then kind of put it towards the window right over here, and then that will also, and kind of like what I said earlier, to use climate keeper modes, battery must be at least 20% charged. It is not 20%, it's right at 19, so I might not be able to use all those features. So make sure you keep your battery charged, unlike me. Well, that pretty much sums up all the winter tips and tricks for this video. Hope that helps prepare you for the winter months. Let us know if you have any questions or if we missed anything in the comments below. Please subscribe, and we'll see you later. Happy winter.